Well, good afternoon. I'm excited to be with you here today, and we've got a lot planned to talk about and to share and to cover. So we're definitely going to get to that. In addition, I want to be sure that you know that I'm here for your questions. And if you have any questions, if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, you can put them in the comments. They'll flow through to me. And we'll try and answer every question we can here today. If we don't answer it today, we'll either answer it offline or we'll answer it on our next live stream. So thank you all for being here. And as you come in, would love for you to put in the comments where you are. Where are you right now? Love to see where people are from. Last week we had people from South Africa. We've had people from the Middle East, all over actually join us. So let me know where you are. I don't care whether you're just down the road in Missouri and Illinois or you're halfway around the world. We certainly want to know where everyone's coming in from. And we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come talk about accountability, about building a life that really prioritizes accountability, bringing accountability into your business and building it into your community. Sloan, hey, Brooklyn, New York. So glad you're here. Really appreciate that. Portland, Oregon, Linda, wonderful. Glad you're here. Welcome. Lynn, wow, Nashville. That's not too far down the road. Go down to Hattie's and get some really great fried chicken down there in Nashville. We have Indianapolis is in the house. Wow, we're getting a great representation from all over, and it's really great to see you. It's really great to have you in here. So we're going to jump in and get going because I do have a lot that I want to share with you today, a lot to cover. And again, as we go, if you have questions, just put them in the comments. We'll address them. We'll deal with it. My goal here really is not just to share something with you. My goal is to help you apply it. I want you to be able to apply it in your life. I want you to be able to apply it in your organization, wherever you are in that organization. I want you to be able to take it back. I want you to apply it in your family, in your community. My mission is to build a more accountable world. I can't do that alone. I do that with partners like you. We do this together. But it always starts with us. The journey always starts with us. And so I just want to recognize that. And so that's why we're starting here today. So we'll get going. Today, I told you last week that, actually, you know what? I want to start off the same place that I've always been starting off, and that is accountability. What is it? Because we struggle with accountability because we don't always understand what it is. And accountability is keeping your commitments to people. That's what it is. It's keeping your commitments to people. And a commitment is no matter what. And that's the foundation of who we are and what we're doing. Last week, we spoke about the difference between tactical and relational commitments. And it was a really important time last week because knowing the difference between tactical and relational is critical. We need them both, but we need to know where they fit into our life. And we'll revisit that down the line. So I want to lay that foundation. Today, I told you I was going to talk about pivot. There's pivot all around here, and I want to talk about pivot because we are about to release our course called Pivot, and this is going to be our foundational course. Everything is going to flow out of this course, and so today I wanted to start talking about exactly what pivot is because so many times we hear the word pivot and we associate it with changing what we're doing, and that is not what a pivot really is. Pivot is not about changing what we're doing. It is all about changing what we're thinking. And there's a significant difference in that. So the question that comes up so often is how did pivot come to be? Where did this all come from? Where did this line of thinking originate? And it's an important story because how things happen is important. And I was just after the first of the year, I was on a phone call with a client. Normally, before I have a speech with a client, I might have one big call after the sale where we after we've taken all the information that our research has done, we sit down with the client on a call and we go through, we talk about their needs, their goals, their objectives. We map out where this program is going to go. And then I put the program together for them. For some reason with this client, we had 3 phone calls. Now this is highly unusual, but we did have 3 phone calls. And at the end of the 3rd phone call, I asked what I normally ask, which is, what's a grand slam for you? What does it look like if I hit it out of the park at your event? What is it that you're looking for? And the decision maker on the call said, Sam, I want you to give my team, and there's going to be about 500 people in the room, I want you to give my team 3 really great points to think about. Now, I got to tell you, that's almost word to word what I hear every time when I'm speaking. They say the same thing. I want 3 points, motivate my people. And usually I listen and I acknowledge, but my programs, for those of you that have either seen me speak or that you've read one of my books, you know I go deep on content. I want to have 3 points. Are you kidding me? I want 30 points. I want a lot of content. I want a lot to think about. I want a lot to apply. And so I almost dismissed it, but for some reason, 3rd call, he's asking for 3 points. I said, what am I missing here? And I really started thinking about this and I started praying on it. And this went on for a couple of days. And then I boarded the plane and headed to Atlanta for my speech. And I arrived in Atlanta a day early. My mom and my brother and his family live in Atlanta, my cousin that I'm real close with. And he's like a brother. And so I spent a day with them. And then I went to the hotel where I was going to be working. And I got there late in the afternoon. And literally that afternoon, like a bolt of lightning, 3 questions came to me. And these 3 questions came to me. And as I started thinking about these 3 questions, these 3 big questions, I'm like, wow, this is it. This is what I am supposed to talk about tomorrow. And I couldn't ignore it. It was so powerful in that moment. I could not ignore it. And I literally pulled a legal pad out because I always travel with a legal pad in my travel pack. That's almost the only thing that's critical. I got to have a legal pad. And so I pulled this legal pad out and I took these, what I call the 3 big questions that just flowed to me. And I wrote them down and I started thinking, and I constructed a new speech for the next day. Now, I got to tell you, I've been doing this for almost 28 years. Speaking, writing, trying to help people make a difference in their lives and their business. I have never rewritten a speech the night before the speech. You would never do that. I would never coach someone to do that. And here I am rewriting a speech, the whole framework from scratch the night before the speech. And so I wrote the whole thing down. I read it over, and then I delivered it to the lampshade in my room, and it just flowed. It was there. It was in me. I knew this was a program I had to deliver the next day. And I took the old speech and pushed it aside, and that is what I delivered the next day. And the response that I received from that audience was overwhelming. That became what is now today called Pivot, which is all about not changing what we're doing, but changing what we think. And by changing what we think, we change the course of direction of our life. We change the direction of our organization. We can change the direction of the world around us. That's what Pivot is about. And for me, in my 28 years in this business, this is the most powerful thing I've ever come across. And this is what we're going to be sharing in the Pivot course. Now, I want to share some of that with you today because I think it's important. Let me check real quick. We seem to have some people that have come in. Oh, look at this. Hey, Ryan, Canada directly above the U.S. Yes, I studied geography. I know exactly where Canada is. I've been there numerous times. I love Canada. Directly above the U.S. I like that. So all the water is flowing down from you guys. Okay, we've got Miriam from Bel Air, Texas. Great to have you here. LinkedIn users love the Lost Commandments. Is that a true dream that came? Well, you know what? contact me on Instagram. I'll give you a response. It might not be the one you want, but yeah, the ending of that book is kind of unusual. And who do we have? Linda, love pivoting when you get the nudge of notes that flowed to you. Yeah, thank you. That's really powerful. There's so many opportunities out there, but I want to start that journey for you right now. I want to share this with you. I want to show you how this works. And so to do this, let's go to the board. I think this will be a little bit easier to see it this way. Let me make it visual. Okay. All right. So what pivot is about changing the way we think. When we change, see, here's what happens. Organizations change what they do. And when they change what they do, then they go back to the old way. But when you change what you think, then you'll change what you do, and it's permanent. And that's the trick. Everything flows from what we think. Everything, all of our actions are an illustration of how we think. So what I have discovered the three big questions. And I'm telling you, this is transformative. All right, three big questions. Number one, what do you believe? Okay, what do you believe? Question number one. This is critical. This is critical. And I have this drilled into my head. I can't begin to tell you for how many years by my assistant, Sharon. And I don't know, she may be watching right now. She's recovering from COVID, and we all certainly wish her well, but she is on the uptick. And so that's really positive. It's critical. You have to know what you believe, because if you don't know what you believe, then what happens is your decisions are not consistent. You'll make one decision one day, you'll make another decision the other day. And then, have you ever made a decision or in a situation, but then you struggle to implement? You made the decision, but you're not going forward with it. Well, there's a reason for that. And one of the reasons is because there's a huge disconnect between that decision and either your mission, your purpose, or specifically your core beliefs and what it is that you believe. When there's a disconnect, then we get stuck. And so if we don't have the clarity on the front end of really knowing what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about the world around us, what we believe about everything, and then that has to manifest itself into values. You see, beliefs are inward facing, values are outward facing. And then we need to know what we believe about our purpose and what we believe about our mission. And it's until we have crystal clarity on that, it's not that we won't have happiness and joy in our life. It's not that we won't achieve a certain level of success, but we'll never have the life we could have. We'll never build the business we could build. We'll never build the family we could build. It's all going to flow from there. And so it's really critical. We have to have crystal clarity, knowing what it is we believe. And that's the big question number one. Let's just see if there's any other questions. Okay, we'll keep moving forward. If you have questions, let me know. All right. Big question number two. What do you focus on? You see, we really have to know what it is that we're focusing on, because here's what I've discovered. If you focus on the things that you cannot control, then what happens is we start to make excuses. It's like the person that's late. Why are you late? Well, I got a ticket. It's an excuse. They're focused on something, what can you not control in that situation? Well, you can't control the traffic. You're late because of the traffic. No, it's not the traffic. You're late because you left late. You're focused on what you can't control, which is the traffic, instead of focusing on what you can control, which is what time you get up in the morning and leave your house. Okay, so when you focus on those, the economy's bad. That's why business is off. Well, you can't control the economy. I don't even want to hear about the economy. What I want to hear about is, what can you control? What can you do in your life? What can you do in your business? Do you need to make more sales calls? Do you need to spend more time with your children, have a better relationship with your children? There's so many areas that you can control. This is critical. And so the second big question, what do you focus on? Oh my gosh, it is just so powerful. Now, the third question. All right, what do you commit to? What do you commit to? Now, we talked about at the very beginning of this live stream, accountability is keeping your commitments to people. And so commitments are at the very core of accountability. And so we have to know exactly what we commit to. And that's why last week, the conversation around relational commitments and tactical commitments was so critical. But when you know what it is that you believe, when you know what it is that we focus on, when you know what it is that we believe, then what happens is we are now training our minds, our brains on how to think. And we're controlling the thought process. No one else is controlling the thought process. We control the narrative. No one else is controlling the narrative. And that's what puts us in position to pivot. Pivoting is what we do when some door closes. And we've all seen, I know you've seen doors close. Share in the comments. What door is closed for you this year? I mean, for me, quite frankly, I came home from a speech on March 15th and the door closed on me of being able to stand on a platform and share a message with an audience. That door just shut. It's gone. It'll come back. I believe it'll come back, but I don't know when it's going to come back. So the question is, what door has shut for you? I want you to think about that. What door has shut? Because what pivoting is because of the way you think. When a door is shut, when a door closes, sometimes in your face, we can either beat on that door or we can look for the open door and walk through the open door. And the only way we're going to see the open door is because of the way that we're thinking. Because if our thinking is such that we're supposed to go through the door that just shut, we'll stay there till the end of time and we'll never move forward. But if our thinking is such that there's an opportunity, there's a reason this door shut, there's a reason that another door will open, and we go looking for that door, oh my gosh, when we go through that door, we're not just walking through that door, we're just bolting through that door. And the results from that are going to be just incredible. Okay. Comment, you sound so angry. No, I'm not angry at all. I am just absolutely passionate about this. So really, I appreciate you pointing that out. And if that's the way it's coming across, I certainly appreciate the feedback. But no, I'm not angry that the ability to get on a platform and speak closed whatsoever. That's just how it affected me. It's affected everybody in some form or fashion, and I realize that. It's also created some amazing opportunities because for me, what it's created is the opportunity to do more of this, to be with people literally from around the world and all at the same time. And it's been an incredible opportunity for us to put together the course that we're going to be releasing next week, and that pivot course is going to be phenomenal. So without this opportunity, that wouldn't happen. So I'm not angry at all. I am blessed and I'm appreciative. So don't confuse my enthusiasm for what I'm sharing. I really believe in what it is that I'm sharing with you today. Okay, questions. Let's see if any questions come in, because we did have some questions that came in during the week. And during the week, are your values where you are, or are they targets? This is a question that came in during the week. Are your values, your personal values, are those, are where you are right now, or are they targets? Or are they goals, I guess is what you're asking. And I've had this question asked numerous times before. And the answer is, I used to give the answer to that question was yes. I don't know, that's kind of what? Well, it's supposed to be where you are, and it serves as a goal or a target of where you want to be. When you say that you value something, when you come up with your list of what I call non-negotiable values, and when you define them in depth, which is the only way that we can really step them out and live them, then if you're not living those values, they're not yours. And so if you say you value something, you got to be living it. So it's where you are. Your values are where you are. And now that doesn't mean that we can't get better at living them. That doesn't mean that we can't reinforce them. That doesn't mean that we can't discover a greater meaning and depth of what those values are. But that value better be showing up right now. A lot of times when I'm consulting either with leaders individually or with organizations, and they'll share with me their values, because that's part of the process. We have to create a detailed set of values, not just a set of words, but a whole narrative on what those values mean. My first question is, where's this value showing up? Because if it's not showing up, I'm going to tell you it's not a value. You tell me you value honesty, well, you better be honest. You tell me that you value making a difference in the community, then you need to be able to show me where you're making a difference in the community. If you're not doing it, then actions speak louder than words, then it must not be a value. So it's critical that our values are showing up in our actions. Now, the good news is we can turn that on instantly. When you say that, you know what, I value making a difference in the community, but when I look at what's been going on in my life the last 4 or 5 years, I really don't believe that I've been out in the community doing what I should. Wow, that's a powerful moment. And you can literally right now, this afternoon, go do something in the community that puts a stake in the ground that says, that is my value. I'm living that value. So your values are where you are, but they should also be something that drives you forward, always trying to get better and improve on them. All right, next question. How do you live values in an organization when everyone is allowed to act differently? How do you live values in an organization when everyone's allowed to act differently? And I'm like, wow, that's a great question. Here's the thing. Leadership is responsible to make sure that everyone in the organization lives the values equally. If you don't have that equality in the organization, that means that there's some sort of bias. What's the bias based on? Is the bias based on the way that you look? Is the bias based on the color of your skin? Is the bias based on your hemline on your dress? Is the bias based on what school you went to? Is the bias based on whether you play golf with someone? If there's bias, then what's happening is you're creating an unsafe environment. And I'm talking about emotionally unsafe. And if you don't create an environment that is equal and fair to everyone, then what's going to happen is everyone eventually will tune out, because they'll know that if they're not one of the chosen few, then they're not going to get the same opportunity. So why should they put their all into it? And that's the same based on performance too. I've seen organizations where they let their top sales performance get away with murder. They let them do anything, act any way they want to act because they're the top sales performer. Well, guess what? If you say you value respect and you allow people in your organization to stay and they're not interacting with other people through and with respect, then you don't value respect. And it doesn't matter how much they produce. And when you let someone go in an organization because they're not living the values, and you've coached them and you've worked with them, and they are the top producer, that sends a message to everyone that when you say something, you mean it, and that those values are important, and that's a powerful place to be. So it's really important to be living the values in an organization equally. And when you see that it's some people in your department, because that's the only thing you can control is your area, if they're not living the values, then as a leader, you're responsible to teach them, model, and help them live those values. And then if they can't come on board and live the values, then the best thing to do is allow them to go someplace where their values will be appreciated. Okay, I think we had another question. Yep. What happens when someone around me says something that is in direct opposition to what I say I believe? Wow. Now that's powerful. And I've had that happen on numerous occasions. Seems like it always happens at dinner time for some reason in groups of people. People say stuff that is just not right. And then what do? Do you just be polite and stay quiet? Well, here's what I believe. I believe that what you allow in your space, you condone. What you allow in your space, you condone. And the reality is that if you don't speak up, then people around you are wondering, what do you stand for? And so it reminds me of a dinner I had one time with the leader of an organization, and it was the COO of the organization. It was the night before I was supposed to speak to about 750 of their what he called middle management. And he looked at me and he said, "Sam, no one in the room tomorrow has a college degree. Just keep it simple. Give them 3 good points." There's those 3 good points again, right? And give them something, 3 good points, and that'll be fine. And I'm thinking, wow, keep it simple. And so what this guy did was he put a glass ceiling on all his people because he didn't have a college degree. Now, whether you have a college degree or not does not have any say in how smart you are, what your capabilities are, what your potential is, where you're going to end up. I mean, I'm all for a college degree. Don't get me wrong, but I know lots of people in my life close to me that don't have college degrees for some very, very good reasons. Like, one, couldn't afford it. My dad couldn't afford to go to college. He just flat out couldn't afford it. He wanted to be an astrophysicist. And you don't have aspirations like that unless you kind of have it going. And he built an incredible life, an incredible business, and he was an amazing dad for me, and I love him dearly, but he didn't have a college degree. Did him not going to college mean that he should have held back or someone should have held back around him? Absolutely not. And so if you don't speak up when someone says something like that, like, wait a second, the fact that they don't have a college degree doesn't really matter. Your people are smart. They work hard. They want to make a difference. And that leader should not have said that to me. I've spoken to them 3 times prior to that. He should have leaned across the table. He should have said, "Sam, you've spoken to us 3 times. I love your material. That's why I keep bringing you back. I want you to give it all to them tomorrow. I want you to give them everything you got. Do not hold back." That's what he should have said as a leader who wanted to see his people grow to their fullest potential. And so I tell you that to tell you this. That is, when someone in our space says something that's not right, that's not true, then we have to speak up. Now, we don't have to get in someone's face, and we don't have to be angry or mean or mad, but we can say, I don't know if you realize this or not, but you're asking me to hold back. And the fact that they don't have a college degree to me doesn't matter one bit. Your people are sharp. I want them to be the best that they can be. I'm going to give them everything I have tomorrow. I'm going to give them all my great ideas and let the chips fall where they may. I think sometimes people don't realize when they say something, what they're saying. And just by speaking up ourselves, we're helping them. We're showing them that there's a deeper meaning to their words, and words matter. And so I think it's important that when someone says something that disagrees with what we believe, that, each situation, we have to evaluate what the situation is. But I think we can be polite, and I think we can share what it is that we believe. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, came in late. What are the lost commandments? Well, you know what, Michael? We're not talking about that today, but we are going to talk about that down the line. So no worries. Sloan. Oh, one can have too many commitments. Can one's core values help choose which commitments to prioritize? Sloan, okay, that's a great question. First of all, let me give you this. Sometimes here's a powerful statement I heard one time, and it made a difference in my life. Maybe it'll make a difference for you. You're defined by what you say no to. You are defined by what you say no to. So yes, sometimes we have to say no. Being a great leader means that we shouldn't be taking on commitments that we can't live, that we can't complete, that we can't fulfill. Sometimes I see people that don't want to let people down, so they say yes to everything. But what they're doing is they're setting themselves up to do just what they don't want to do, which is let people down because they can't get it all done. So we can't overcommit. We need to understand what it is that we can commit to. And that's really connecting to the tactical commitments that we spoke about last week, Sloan. But I think also with your values, when situations present themselves more in line with the relational values that we've been talking about, the relational commitments, I think your values are going to tell you, they're going to scream to you what you should and shouldn't be committing to. You shouldn't be committing to something that violates what it is that you value, because if you do, then that's not your value. So I think that's excellent. I think taking the time to I always think we should use our values as a filter for every decision we make. As a matter of fact, I always say that our values are literally every decision we ever need to make the rest of our life pre-made. It's just the facts that are presenting themselves in any given situation. But we've already made the decision on how we're going to act based on a set of values. If we've taken the time to not only identify the values, but define them and know how to script out literally how to step them out in our life. Sean, hey, Sean, I appreciate you being here. A closed door of mine was the loss of 4 business partners. An open door was to use what I learned from the time spent with them to move forward with more experience. There we go. See, I love that. That's really great. Yeah, you lose those partners. I mean, nobody likes that, but wow, what you learn from them ups your game and puts you in a position to do some things that you might not have otherwise been able to do. And actions are the illustrations of our values. Thank you for that, Sean. I appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. I appreciate everybody being here, actually. So, all right, a bunch of you are watching this live either on Facebook or LinkedIn, and even more, hundreds more are going to see this after the fact. And so this is what I want you to know as we move forward, that, and you're going to see it over my shoulder here, is mypivotlife.com. Starting Tuesday, we're going to have a pivot workshop, and we're going to live stream 4 times next week. And so you want to be sure that you are here. And the way that you can be sure that you are here is if you go to mypivotlife.com and just put your name and email, we're going to send a reminder out, and we're going to start this pivot workshop. We're going to start it, and it's going to be on Tuesday, starting at 3:00 Eastern. So the same time as today, but we're starting on Tuesday next week because we want to do 4 sessions as we work through this material and work up to launching at the end of the week. We're going to launch the pivot course and make it available for a limited time because we're only going to offer this course one time. If you haven't taken our free accountability quiz, go to amiaccountable.com, take the quiz. It'll give you a lot of insights. I want you to have that. Next Tuesday, 3:00 Eastern time, that's when we're going to start with the pivot course. And feel free, please connect with me on Instagram or LinkedIn at Sam Silverstein. Also, questions. You can always send your questions to me just go to pivotquestions.com. If you go to pivotquestions.com, there's a place right there. Put your question in, it'll come to me, and we will get you answers for those questions. Because like I talked about before, it's really important not just to share information with you. What's really important is I want to help you apply that information. And that's why we designed the pivot course. We designed the course for people who are finally going to say, you know what? I'm going to transform the way I think, because when I transform the way I think, my life is going to change, my business is going to change, my family's going to change, my community is going to change. That's what it's going to be. It's going to flow out of pivoting how we think. I want to help you do that. We're going to do that in the pivot course. We're going to do that in the free pivot workshop this coming week. I want to see you Tuesday, 3:00 Eastern. Send your questions to Pivot Questions. Go to mypivotlife.com and put your name in there so you get a reminder when we're live next week. I'll see you then. Have a great rest of the week. And remember this, accountability is keeping your commitments to people, and a commitment is no matter what. My commitment to you is to be here next week to help step you through this pivot workshop. I'll see you then.